So I'm a DPS main, and that means that I've never actually really paid attention to what the tanks are doing, like ever. In fact, all I knew of tanks was that they kept enmity off us, and I guess healers, but most importantly, they kept it off me, and that's all they ever did because that's all they ever had to do. So the question is, how hard could that actually be? So about a month or so ago, I decided that after my 1000 hours in Final Fantasy XIV, 99.999% of which is on my Dragoon, it was time to try something else because I wanted to solo farm more mounts, I wanted to try the deep dungeon solo, Palace of the Dead, I'm coming for that bench, and I just wanted to hold on to my Sprout for a while longer. Like, I haven't finished Growing Light out of fear that I'll just be like everyone else in this game, but mainly solo farming and deep dungeons, and also being thematically on point for when we get around to Shadowbringers, but mainly solo stuff, so it couldn't be that hard, right? You'd be wrong. So I ended up choosing Dark Knight just so everyone knows what I'm working with here, and I went Dark Knight because I'm a sloppy bitch for big swords. My favourite Final Fantasy is 7, my main in Monster Hunter is a great sword, one of my favourite anime of all time is Bleach, and if 14 had a DPS role with a big heavy stick, you can absolutely put money on me having chosen that. And also I heard the job quest was really good for Dark Knight, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, you can decide on that one, the big sword was a job for tanks, and here we are, level 60 or so, and it's been hell on earth. Every step of just this short 30 level grind that I've done was a nightmare. Like, not knowing what to expect and having this almost childlike ignorance of just how easy tanking really was. And to make it worse, it gives you this false sense of security because like every job, your kit starts off incredibly small, right? So there's not a lot you're really doing, and it's kind of mind-numbing. Like, you forget just how quickly and how slow the rotations are at lower levels. And in the beginning, this 3-button rotation leads to all sorts of issues in dungeons, at least for me. You know, it was so hard to hold aggro with literally just the one AoE ability and just one of what feels like a really long cooldown enmity grabbing move. But this is where two things start to happen. Two very important lessons get taught to you very quickly, very early on. And the first of all being, you learn that you have a horrendous case of the tankxieties. You don't like being the leader.
Why are you dying so quickly? Why isn't your tank stance? Why are you constantly moving?
And so that happens, and it hits me like a freight train to such an extent that I'm kind of having to build myself back up to get back into public dungeons. Trials I'm okay with because it's just the one thing, and it's not necessarily just you tanking, you can also be a co-tank. But a raid, like, I'll get there. I haven't actually done a raid yet tanking, so it will happen eventually. It's just going to take me some time, but we'll get there because real tanks persevere. But the biggest lesson you will learn as a tank in 14, and I assume this goes the same for any game that has the Holy Trinity, is DPS are not your friends. DPS can and will absolutely make your life a living hell. They'll attack a different target than you, and ranged DPS will do the same thing, except now that little guy they're hitting, instead of just turning around on the spot, will run all the way off to wherever they are, meaning you have to either run after it yourself or break the rotation to get it back and hope it follows you all the way back to the pack, and also hope that you haven't lost enmity on anything in the meantime, or even worse, that something has decided to go for one of the healers. And none of this is taken into account the times where a DPS will pull another group because they think it's either going too slow or an AoE accidentally pulls in another group. And if I had £1 for every time that happened to me in just my few dungeon runs I've done in these few short levels, I'd have enough to pay my sub for a year, you can believe me on that one. It can be, and in my experience is a snowball of clusterfucks that you just have to juggle, but hey, at least you never die, right? Wrong again, because not to just bully my fellow DPS mains no matter how much we might deserve it. Healers, I'm gonna let you off lightly here because I've never played a healer before, I'm getting to it, but I swear some of you don't know that low level tanks, at least not Dark Knight, we don't have that many self heals and those mitigations run out quicker if shit goes south. So I guess all I'm asking is for the white mages to stop using stone every 5 seconds, so thank you. But this entire experience, I believe, and I hope, has made me a better player at the game because despite only being a DPS main, it's taught me that every class needs to be handled differently. Like, packs need to be pulled away from ranged, jobs with positionals make sure the pack is all facing the same way away from the DPS. Others like machinists make sure their packs are all in a group for the AoEs. Like, I feel in order to be a good tank, you really need to know how the other classes work. And it's funny, I've never wanted to try tanking before because I thought it'd be boring, and I can almost say that is just simply not the case. It is anything but, and I was so wrong, and it's even gone to the extent of teaching me to be a more mindful DPS. And most importantly, it's taught me to be more understanding to my fellow tanks. Like, no one other than you realizes just how much bullshit you have to go through and put up with. So ultimately, this video is for you, because every single one of you deserves all the commendations you're getting. Every single one of you deserves the reward bonuses from the duty roulettes. And most of all, you deserve every single thanks that you aren't getting, because this job is a lot harder than people give you credit for. Because tanking is a lot harder than most people think. And with that, that's going to be the end of the video, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, because I enjoyed making it. If you did, leave a thumbs up in the comment for the algorithm. I read and reply to most, and if you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, and be sure to check out the other videos on the channel. Me and Jared are well underway with Cowboy Bebop for our first watch anime podcast, Pro and Noob, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So with that, I've been Mitch692, and as always, you've been great, and this has been a different kind of Sprout Talk, so peace.